Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. So it looks like Iran is getting attacked again for the second night in a row. They got attacked last night as well, and now they're getting attacked tonight. This was coming because Trump basically said he will do it tonight, and Hexeth also said he would do it. So Iran has had plenty of warnings. However, guys, I'm going to give you my honest opinion, guys, and everyone who thinks that Iran is winning, I need you to cancel that thought. Because this is not a way to win the war. Because Iran needs to be much more ruthless and aggressive, guys. For the second night in a row, they are getting hit really hard. And all of this could have been avoided, all of it. Guys, look, I want Iran to win, but this is not the way to win. You know, the country that attacks first has always got the advantage. Always. I mean, think back last year in the 12-day war. America and obviously Israel attacked Iran. Did a surprise attack, and for 2 or 3 days straight, Iran got pummeled, absolutely pummeled, and it was a surprise attack, guys. And Israel and America had the first strike. They had the first strike advantage. When you have the first strike advantage, you can plan what to hit way in advance. And you can also set up your defenses. So if Iran tries to hit back, your defenses are ready. So last year, when Israel and America hit Iran, they killed lots of generals. They blew up important infrastructure throughout Iran. They did a lot of damage in the first few days. And it took Iran a few days to kind of get their act together, and then they started fighting back. This year, Iran did a little bit better, and they were more prepared, which is fine. I'm happy with that. But what they're doing now is not the way to win the war, guys. Because I tell you what, the biggest mistake they've done is talk to the United States and announce a ceasefire. That's the worst thing they could have done, because I know how the West works, guys. I know how the West works. The ceasefire only benefits Israel and America. It doesn't benefit anyone else. Look what they're doing to Gaza. Hamas was winning, and what did they do? They forced a ceasefire. They basically held the people hostage. They said they're not going to give them any food or water. And they forced a ceasefire, and now they're still bombing, they're still attacking, they're still taking more and more land, and basically it's given Israel the advantage. Well, back then Hamas had the advantage. They've done the same with Lebanon. If there's a ceasefire in Lebanon, Israel has taken all that land, and they'll still do surgical strikes all over Lebanon, and they'll still do bombings in Beirut. These people do not understand ceasefire. It's a one-way thing. It's a ceasefire for Iran not to attack. But America and Israel will do whatever they want. And even Trump said a few days ago, he said ceasefire in that part of the world means you attack less. That was his words. It doesn't mean stop, it means attack less. So Iran should have learned from this, guys. And then now they're getting themselves hit for the second night in a row. And America and Israel will keep doing that until there's nothing left in Israel. Sorry, there's nothing left in Iran. You know, You cannot ever win a war like this, guys. Never. They're just picking their targets and you know they're taking their time. They're picking their targets and they're taking these targets out. And what's Iran doing? They're firing missiles as a reaction. As a reaction. And God knows if they're hitting their targets or not, or what they're destroying. We don't know because obviously we can't see what's been destroyed, or there's no reporting on either side. So we don't know if those missiles are taken out. We don't know if those missiles are intercepted. And if they do land, we don't know how much damage they're causing. But one thing I do know is if you fire missiles, as a reaction to you getting attacked, you would do less damage as the first attacker will always do the most damage because they hit you by surprise. They have time to, work out the targets. They have time to, you know, basically, they do all the satellites and all the, logistics and everything. They have time to do all of that. Then they hit the targets and they run away. And then they also have time to set up all their defenses as well. So if Iran fires back, they have more chance to take out any missiles or anything else that's coming their way. So the attacker always has an advantage. It doesn't matter what war you're in. This is suicide, guys. This is not a way to win a war. So this is what Iran needs to do. First of all, they need to take out, at least one of these puppet regimes, either UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, maybe one of them three. Just take them out. You just focus on one and use that as an example. Take out all the infrastructure, all the water facilities for all the water salination plants. Because yesterday, the Americans attacked Iranian water salination plants. So Iran needs to do the same. So they need to use a country as an example. Maybe let's just say Kuwait, or let's just say Bahrain, and just focus all of their firepower on that country. Focus all of the missiles on that country. Firing one missile in Israel, one missile in Kuwait, one missile in Bahrain. That's not going to do much, guys. That's not going to do much. You need to focus all of your firepower on one country. Take them out completely. Completely take them out. All the bases, everything needs to be completely destroyed. So there's no way of ever using that base ever again. And that country needs to be set as an example. And once you set that country, once you destroy that country, and once you set that as an example, the other Gulf countries will be, very reluctant to help the United States. They don't want to end up like that. That's how you become, that's how you need to be in war. You need to be very ruthless. Otherwise, you're just going to keep getting attacked. Look, I want Iran to win, guys, but this is not the way to win a war. And they've worked so hard to get to this stage, and now they're pretty much throwing away with these fake ceasefire talks. So this guy Hegseth that came on today, and he said exactly he was going to attack Iran. So Iran had plenty of time to prepare, and not only that, they could have attacked American bases beforehand because they knew an attack was coming. So why sit there and take some attacks? They could have just started firing missiles at these bases beforehand. Then this story about Trump stealing millions of barrels of oil from Iran every night. So I don't know how true this is, guys, but it doesn't seem realistic. First of all, I think if it is true, these ships were probably paid to pay. We do know that a lot of ships have been paying toll in in the Strait of Persia, and lots of ships have been going through, paying their fees. And we know that the American ships are all the way in the Indian Ocean. So it could be that they're stopping ships that have already paid the toll. So if the ships have already paid the toll and Americans are stealing those ships, that's got nothing to do with Iran. Secondly, I don't think this is true at all. I mean, Trump says that this is a secret. So if it's a secret, why is he, spilling the beans? Why is he spilling the secret? It doesn't make any sense. He should keep quiet. He should, carry on doing whatever he's doing. Or it could be that, maybe there is some truth into it, because I've seen some stories online saying that these Apache helicopters were doing the escorts, and the Apache helicopter got found out yesterday, and he got taken down. And this is why Trump is saying what he's saying, because he said that it was a secret until the Iranians found out. And it could be that the Apache had something to do with that. But I don't know. I mean, it's very, very doubtful. I mean, if they do stop ships, it's most likely these ships have already paid their toll, paid their fees, then, got stopped in the Indian Ocean or something, or near Oman. But who knows end of the day, guys? You know that Trump lies a lot, so you really have to take his words with a pinch of salt. You don't know what the hell he's saying sometimes. He doesn't know what he's saying sometimes. And even I think one of his ministers in the White House, they even said that they don't know what he's talking about. The oil minister, he says we don't have any extra oil coming out of Iran, so I don't know. He even denied it. He says I don't know what Trump is talking about. So I doubt if it's true. But this helicopter story sounds a bit dodgy, to be honest. And I'm also hearing that this helicopter story might be a false flag from Israel, because this helicopter got taken down on the anniversary of the USS Liberty. And the USS Liberty was a ship that the Israelis attacked and tried to pin it on the Egyptians, so the Americans attack Egypt. And the anniversary of that ship being taken down, they killed a lot of American sailors, by the way. And that anniversary was yesterday when the Apache got taken down. So, you know, dates matter, guys. Anniversaries matter. So it could be something that Israel done. Obviously, we don't know for sure, but it's a possibility. So Trump sent another like his usual post, and you can see it's so funny. He says commercial ships, through the Strait of Hormuz. So he can't even spell straight. He's spelling straight the other way. It's not straight. And he's done it twice. You can see he spelled straight completely wrong. And this is the president of the United States we're talking about here, guys. Not some dopey secretary or anything like that. This is him typing his words. So the real Strait of Hormuz is controlled by Iran, as we know. But this Strait of Hormuz that Trump is talking about is probably in his mind, in his imagination. So this is another sad day for America, guys. They voted this guy again, Lindsey Graham. Lindsey, Lindsay is a in UK. Lindsay is a girl's name, so I don't know why he's named after a girl, but that's another story. But why do they keep voting for this guy? I just don't understand. He's such a warmonger. He's Israel first. All he wants to do is, have war after war after war. He's literally all of his stuff is just Israel first, Israel first. So why the hell do they keep voting for this guy? It just doesn't make any sense. Same people voted for Trump. So sometimes you cannot blame the politicians. If you got a stupid politician, and he keeps getting voted in, there's gotta come a time when you think that maybe it's not the politician that's the problem. Maybe it's the people who voted him in, and they keep voting him in. They've done it like 3, 4 times, maybe more. I don't know. He's been around forever. It's crazy, guys. There is definitely something wrong with American society. Definitely something wrong, or there's some major fraud going on. Because I've seen him in he's done his rallies and stuff. He always used to get booed. So I don't know who the hell is voting for him. There must be some fraud going on, guys, because I don't think Americans are that stupid. I really don't. I have been to America a few times, and yeah, there are stupid people around, but there's stupid people around everywhere, all around the world. But when I went to America, I did meet a lot of intelligent people, a lot of intelligent Americans. I had good conversations with them. But then I also met a lot of stupid ones as well. But end of the day, there's clever and stupid people all around the world. So I just don't think there's enough stupid people in America to vote for this guy. I just don't think so. I mean, I could be wrong, but there must be something dodgy going on, guys. Let me know what you guys think. So remember the story I said yesterday that it was Dubai that paid Iran the 3 billion. And guess what? When Iran fired back, they fired back at Bahrain, at Kuwait, and at Jordan, but they did not fire back at UAE. So sounds like my story was correct. It was UAE that paid Iran the 3 billion, and it was probably some sort of sweetener deal. And maybe it's UAE's way of saying, look, we'll give you that money, don't attack us. We've got nothing to do with all these attacks that's happening, so leave us alone. And today they've said that US is not allowed to use their bases or airspace. So it's probably that UAE that paid them the 3 billion. Well, not paid them, but unfroze basically unfroze their accounts and gave it to them. So I could be wrong. There might be an attack on UAE tonight, so we'll wait and see what happens. So let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about the economy. It's so funny, guys. Today's CPI reports came out, and the inflation was 4.2%, and it's almost double what it was before Trump came into office. And he promised, inflation was going down, and he's been saying that inflation's on its way down. Inflation, there's no problem with inflation. And today, a reporter asked him, what do you think of the inflation report today? And do you know what he said? He says, "No, I love it. I love the inflation." I can't believe he said that, and he was dead serious. He wasn't even being funny about it. Suddenly, all these years he was saying that there's no problems. Inflation is going to bring it down. He promises it to bring it down, and it's on its way down. All these promises and all these statements he's been saying. And suddenly today he says, "No, no, I love inflation." I wonder what ordinary Americans or MAGA think of that statement, because 4.2 is pretty high, guys, and the real inflation is probably double or triple. The government always keeps the inflation results down. So if it's 4.2, the real one is probably 8 or even 10. And the government's figures, you can't trust them. They always use the lowest figures. So so yeah, if you're a MAGA supporter and you voted for Trump, this is what you deserve, unfortunately. And finally, another economic report. So Donald Trump, this is so funny, guys. Donald Trump sent this tweet yesterday. He says the U.S. trade deficit widens by the most nearly 34 years, and he posted it. He thought that this was a win. It's so funny. So he posted it in his Truth Social, and he thought it's some sort of win, but it's not a win. It's actually a major loss. Those of you who remember Trump's first term, his first term, he was basically accusing China of stealing America's lunch, and he started this trade war with China. And every single day he used to scream and shout that, America's trade deficit is too high. He needs to reduce the trade deficit. He used to say that China's selling us way too much and not buying enough, so the trade deficit is too high. And he want, so and that's the excuse that he made to start his trade war, not only with China but also with other countries, because he said the trade deficit is too high. He needs to reduce the trade deficit. All these countries have been, basically how I'm trying to say a nicer word, but s screw screwing us over. Basically, that was his words. I had to use code words. I can't say the word because it's a swear word. So he says that all these countries were ripping America off, and s screw screwing screwing s screwing America, and ripping America off. That was his words, by the way, not mine. And so he started this trade war in the first term, and with China, and he obviously failed the trade war, because not only did he fail miserably, but he actually made China more self-sufficient, because China was happy to buy American goods. They were buying American Boeing airplanes. They were buying American chips. They were buying lots of stuff from America at the time, and they had a good relationship. And suddenly Trump comes along and he decided China's the enemy because the trade deficit is too high, and he started attacking China, and basically started this trade war, and he stopped supplying China with semiconductors and advanced semiconductor equipment. He banned Huawei. He did a lot of stuff, guys. He even kidnapped the Huawei's owner's daughter. Um, he lobbied other countries to ban Huawei. There was a full-blown trade war going on at the time between America and China. And basically, China at the time realized, what, we cannot rely on America anymore. We need to have our own, sectors. And since then, what they did was they started their own semiconductor industry. They started doing everything by themselves. All of the stuff they were buying from the West, they started building their own, sourcing their own, having their own factories, and they replaced all the Western equipment with their homegrown equipment. Trump is the one that started it, because apparently back then he thought the trade balance was too high, or the trade deficit was too high. And fast forward to today, the trade deficit has gone even higher. So what was the point of that, having that trade war with China and the rest of the world? What was the point? He not only did he fail completely, but he also made China into a semiconductor superpower. So because China's been building their own, they now export semiconductors to the rest of the world. They now export high-end equipment that before used to be done by the West, but now China does it. So it's all down to Trump. He just doesn't do anything right, guys. This is why he went bankrupt 6 times. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. This this is a guy who went bankrupt 6 times, guys. I don't know anyone that's got bankrupt 6 times. It's crazy. Anyway, that's all for today, guys. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now.